Welcome all to yet another video, Dr. RS and you, on the science of cosmetics and personal care products. You can type Ramesh Surya R-I-A Narayanan at YouTube videos. You will get as Dr. Ramesh Surya Narayanan, and you can get all my videos regarding this topic. And this is my email ID. Right? Today we are in part 99. We'll just discuss briefly on an approach to baby care products. So, approach to baby care products. The epidermis of infants does not show much difference with that of adults. However, most important thing, the surface area body weight ratio is 2.3-fold higher in newborns than in adults. So, skin to body weight ratio is very high in newborns than in adults, decreasing to 1.8 folds and 1.6 fold at 6 and 12 months respectively. So when the newborn baby, the skin area is very high compared to body weight. So 2.3-fold higher in newborns than in adults. This basic difference leads to lot of other important things that has to be taken care when products are developed, cosmetic products are developed for babies. For example, application of the same amount of product on similar body surface of baby versus adult could result in higher blood and tissue concentration in the newborn. This ratio is taken up in the intraspecies factor of 10 used in exposure based risk assessment. Because of this, transepidermal water loss is higher in babies. Transepidermal water loss, the skin constantly loses water to the external atmosphere to maintain the balance with the external humidity. That's transepidermal water loss is higher for babies. In babies, eccrine sweat glands very well developed. You can go to my videos on skin, functions of skin. Eccrine sweat gland, the composition of eccrine sweat gland is mostly electrolytes. It's very well developed. Apocrine sweat glands totally absent. Apocrine sweat glands develop only after puberty. The cutaneous nervous system is also not fully developed. Cutaneous nervous system not developed. In the dermis, numerous fibroblasts produced elastic and collagen fibers, but fewer in number than in adult life. Most of the development and maturation of elastic fibers occur after birth, and it's only at the age of 3 years the elastic fibers become completely mature. The hairs of newborn are well developed. Sometimes some lanugo hairs, that is body hairs, are still observed. After birth, the hair passes from anagenic, go to our hair video where we have discussed the hair growth cycles, anagenic into telogenic phase. As a consequence, baby's hair fall out after about 8 weeks. Afterwards, the hair cycle becomes similar to that one observed for adults, and hairs will be present in different phases. The hairs, however, are very thin and only faintly pigmented, but these phenomena normalizes as a function of time. Right? So, the most important aspect here which we have to consider is the surface area of skin. Because of that, the danger of the products or the products that is applied on the skin, and the potential of the products that can get absorbed and causing toxicity. It's much more children or babies are prone to that than elders. And then constantly the skin losing water, transepidermal water loss and eccrine sweat gland. We will come back to this, and what are the problems in eccrine sweat gland? What are the problems associated with that? Right. The diaper area, right? The diaper area and non-diapered regions are indistinguishable at birth, but show differential behavior over the first 14 days, with a diapered region having higher pH. How? And increased hydration. Special circumstances arise because of the close confining of clothes and diapers on the uncontrolled urination and defecation. Right? The close fitting diaper provides a warm, nutritive environment for the proliferation of bacteria. Because of the interaction between the urine and feces, enzyme urease becomes activated and converts urea from urine into ammonia, giving rise to alkaline skin pH levels. As a consequence, fecal enzymes such as lipases and proteases becomes activated and damage the fragile skin in the diaper area. So this is carrying the diaper area for babies. It's a very, very important aspect. Microbial colonization of skin starts immediately after birth by so-called saprophytes that are not pathogenic and are credited with protective properties against some harmful microorganisms. So, some of the saprophytes are beneficial to the skin, right? Because of the presence of saprophytes, it doesn't allow harmful microorganisms to grow on the skin, right? So, these, even at the birth, these saprophytes starts colonizing. They require acidic surroundings for optimal living conditions. These saprophytes require acidic surroundings for optimal living conditions. We all know skin pH is around 4.5 to 5.5 or 4 to 5.5. See what happens? For these saprophytes to survive, we need a acidic pH. Whereas the pH value of baby skin is, after a few days, comparable to pH value of adult skin. But the buffering capacity of skin is much lower. What is buffering capacity? Buffering capacity of the skin is when the skin is subjected to higher pH. In adult skin, it can rebound back to the normal pH of the skin. That is called the buffering. Buffering means when there is a drift in the pH, the buffering action of the skin compensates the drift, and the skin pH becomes to the normal level immediately. No, buffering action is very fast. In the baby skin, this buffering action is slow. Therefore, baby skin is more susceptible to pH changes, and therefore skin infections can happen. Right? So, to summarize, baby skin have more surface area contributed by skin. Therefore, subjected to more transepidermal water loss, heat loss and poor thermoregulation. Maintaining body temperature, no? It's poor in babies. The temperature can increase drastically. So, because of this, heat loss and poor thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is maintaining the body temperature. Greater risk of toxicity from the percutaneous absorption of topically applied product because of the more surface area of skin, risk of toxicity from absorption of products, some of the ingredients of the product applied on the skin. When you do toxicity levels based on the percutaneous absorption for adults, when you calculate for babies, it has to be 10 times lower dose. So, because baby skin, the surface area of the skin to body is very high, so the potential of these absorption is very high. Newborn babies and infants can experience dry skin owing to environmental factors such as climate and central heating. Eccrine sweat glands are well developed, therefore skin is susceptible to prickly heat, baby skin. Skin buffering, pH buffering is poor, so susceptible to infection. Diaper rash is a common problem for children. In addition, young children may receive large doses of ultraviolet light from sun. This is specifically a problem for Europeans, the more white skinned people, because they are more susceptible to UV damage, skin damage through UV light of sun. This sunlight and skin, in that part we discussed all these aspects. So, they spend much time in outdoor activities. Children spend much time in outdoor activities, so they are susceptible to ultraviolet light also. All these factors should be taken into consideration when formulating products for this group of people, that is for babies. Right. So, this is the summary of some of the things which the baby skin are different and you have to take care. So, from this it is imperative pure and safe raw material should be used to formulate well stabilized baby care products. Stability in the angle of physical, chemical and microbial. So, it should be free from medical microbial contamination through the to the entire product shelf life, and should avoid any accidental microbial contamination while usage also. So, some chemical actives that are unstable, causing byproducts which are not safe. So, you have to take ultra precaution in these aspects when you develop a baby care product. Now, I am not going to give any specific formulation for baby care products because this is a lot of controversial topics are going in the thing. But what I will do is I will show you some of the marketed products and we can discuss the ingredients on the label of those marketed products. No, the question is whether it is right or wrong. No, as a scientist, we have to do much more work on baby care products, right? I'm not going to say whether it is right or wrong. I'm going to just show you some of the ingredients used in baby care products that are marketed, right? So, baby care products, what can be the soap, shampoo, cleansing milk, baby wipes, care products, creams, lotions, body oils, powder for sun protection, problem solution for diaper rash and prickly heat. Right? These are the major baby care products. Right? So, baby soap. Here, what are the things? Soap with good super fatting. What is super fatting? Having oils and moisturizers excessively in the soap so that the soap doesn't dry the skin. This is very, very important if it is a soap. Then combo bars, combination of soap and mild synthetic surfactant. This is the next approach. Scented bars, mild synthetic surfactant based soaps, based cleansing bars. Combination of soap and mild cleansing bars, it's combo bars. We discussed this in the scented bars, chapter, all these aspects, how to make, what is a combo bar, what is a scented bars, we discussed in those chapters. So, the soap should be enriched with antioxidants so that the soap doesn't become rancid, very important. Free from synthetic colors preferably, and either perfume free or perfumes free of allergens. So if you go to European Union cosmetics directory, there is a special section where they listed the allergens. See, most of the allergens are from perfumes, and when the allergens are above a certain level in your final product, that you have to work with the suppliers, perfume suppliers. It has to be listed on the label. It's strict in Europe. In India, I think it's not listed, but in European countries, the allergens have to be listed. That's why at the end, you will see some ingredients, chemicals listed at the end, which are the allergens from the perfumes. It's safe to use that, but for some people, those ingredients can cause allergy, right? It's allergens. So baby care products, preferably the perfumes, if you add, it can be allergen free perfumes, right? So this can be the approach for baby soaps, right? And shampoo, one of the marketed shampoo. So this shampoo doesn't have ingredients like sodium lauryl ether sulfate, right? Or which is dioxane and and has some issues on dioxane. So these the shampoos and the body wash for babies preferably made from mild surfactants, right? Mild surfactants, cationic conditioners can be avoided. Cationic conditioners which are used in adult shampoos can be avoided in baby care shampoos. So here also cocoamido propyl betaine, sodium cocyl glycinate, right? These two surfactants are used. Lauryl isothianate, and No? So, some of the milder surfactants, sodium palmitate, little soap is also used, sodium isocyanate, right? So, some of the milder surfactants are used in this shampoo formula. So, if you develop a body wash or a shampoo for babies, go to the surfactants, building block surfactants in our YouTube video. We have classified the surfactants and the safety of surfactants and the irritation potential of surfactants we have discussed in Sinded Bath's chapter and also in the chapter of surfactants as a building block. So you can go through that, and you can also do the mildness testing for the shampoos either through cell lines, right? Cell line studies or is usually done, and a patch test is also there. You can do in adult patch testing to correlate it with the child. So the next product is baby lotion. Again here the same principle, the dimethicone at 1.2% level, they say it's an active. It has water, glycerin, disteryl dimonium chloride. No, it's the cationic, which also act as an emulsifier in this formula. Then petrolatum, isopropyl palmitate, cetyl alcohol, oat kernel flour, benzyl alcohol, preservative, fragrance, and sodium chloride. Right. So it's a very simple formula with dimethicone to form a occlusive layer on the skin. So it says high quality natural oats and carefully harvest protective, moisturizing and soothing properties. Then lavender scent, fast absorbing formula, clinically proven to moisturize for 24 hours. Right? Here the warnings, temporarily protect and helps relieve chapped skin or helps, okay, for external use only, do not get into the eyes, conditions worsen, okay, don't use on deep or punctured wounds, animal bites or serious burns. Use it on children but keep out of children because they can swallow it. Right? This is a calming comfort, that is one baby lotion. Then this is a baby powder. Right? This baby powder is zinc oxide at 10% as a skin protectant. Baby powder, it's medicated with zinc oxide, helps treat and soothe rashes and minor skin irritations. Our hypoallergenic dermatologist tested formula is made with pure cornstarch and clinically proven to be gentle and mild on the skin. Right? This is one of the baby product, baby powder. So, help treat and prevent diaper rash, protects chapped skin due to diaper rash and helps to seal wetness. This product I can also suggest for prickly heat. Okay, zinc oxide as an astringent and skin protectant. With the base contains zeamase cornstarch, fragrance, allobarbidans leaf juice powder, most probably tocopherol, vitamin E. The powder has all these ingredients. So these are the inactive ingredients. What are the inactive ingredients? Zeamase cornstarch and vitamin E with fragrance. And so this is a baby powder, right? This can be used for as a body powder and as a, not on the face. Babies, it's only body for prickly heat areas, and then for the diaper, to prevent diaper rash, right? See, for prickly heat, we have a special special part which covers the prickly heat. You can go there to the prickly heat. We covered all the actives for prickly heat and cause for prickly heat and all those things. Go to that specific part, right? Then diaper rash cream. Again here zinc oxide at 13%. Here it contains water, petrolatum, beeswax, dimethicone, sorbitol sesquioleate, the emulsifier, microcrystalline wax, PG30, dipropyl hydroxystearate, emulsifier, aloe leaf extracts, glycerin, tropolone, it's an antioxidant. Tropolone is an antioxidant. Then tocopherol acetate, 1,2-hexanediol, capryl glycol. 1,2-hexanediol is a preservative booster, right? It's a preservative booster. Then capryl glycol is also preservative booster. Phenoxyethanol is the preservative. Potassium hydroxide neutralizer. Magnesium sulfate. So this is a typical water in oil emulsion. The formula reveals it's a water in oil emulsion. So oil is the continuous phase with water, and magnesium sulfate is added to arrange the micelles compactly so that lot of water can be dispersed in the oil, right? This is a very typical cream. It's a Nivea cream that comes in the blue tins, blue tin. It's similar formula where it has it will be very occlusive formula with zinc oxide. This is for specifically diaper rash, right? So baby wipes. So the baby wipes, it's water, phenoxyethanol preservative, sodium benzoate preservative, glycerin, carbomer, citric acid, cocoa glucoside, it's the cleansing agent, fragrance, glyceryl citrate, lauryl glucoside, cleansing agent, polyglyceryl 2-hydroxy dihydroxystearate, it's the it's again a cleansing agent. Anisic acid, it's a mild antibacterial action, the preservative. Sodium hydroxide and glyceryl polyacrylate, right? Glyceryl polyacrylate is a film forming agent, right? So this is the formula of the liquid, right? See, now this liquid is made, this emulsion is made, and the wipes, papers are packed in the sachets, and the required dose of this wipes is filled in the pack. You can go to the chapter of facial wipes. We have discussed facial wipes. In the part of facial wipes, we have discussed this fully on the how these facial wipes are manufactured. It's the same process here also, right? So this is baby wipes, and this is sunscreen SPF 50, right? SPF 50 sunscreen. Basically ultra gentle formula that is non-stinging to the eyes, clinically tested to be mild to baby's sensitive skin. Here only inorganic sunscreens are used, titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. No organic chemical sunscreens, it's only inorganic sunscreens are used, right? water, caprylic triglyceride, emollient, isohexadazine. Then see, butyl octyl salicylate, it's a pigment dispersant. It disperses titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. Octododecyl citrate polymer. No, it's a film former. Cetyl PPG 10 dimethicone. It's a conditioning agent. Lauryl PG8 dimethicone. C30 olefin isopropyl copolymer. No, this is a, then sodium chloride, ethyl exyl methoxycrylene. This is a photostabilizer. It improves the efficacy of sunscreens. Then dimethicone, capryl glycol, preservative enhancer, PG8, alumina, glycerin, sodium citrate buffer, tocopherol acetate, antioxidant, aloe, phenoxyethanol preservatives. This is the base, and the active ingredient sunscreens are SPF 50, titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. Again, I am not discussing here on the safety of the product, that the suppliers would have sufficiently tested before sending it to the market, but just discussing the labeled ingredients, right? So the next product is the last product is the baby oil, right? Here in this baby oil they have used sunflower seed oil, almond oil, olive oil, caprylic triglyceride, which is synthetic ester. Perfume is calendula flower extract as a perfume, tocopherol antioxidant, bisabolol an anti-inflammatory agent. Right, now you can have instead of sunflower oil, you can have coconut oil, right? You can use sesame oil, right? Coconut oil can be used. Coconut oil, you have to be very careful when you use. You have to take it to lower temperature, when a temperature of around 0 degrees or 7 degrees, and see whether it is precipitating. It's freezing out. No, coconut oil has the, because of it's made up of more saturated fats. No, saturated fatty acids. It's made up of saturated fatty acids, so it can lose it can become solid at low temperature. So by properly formulating coconut oil based products, we can avoid that also, right? Including right amount of the other vegetable oils, you can tackle that also. So this is a typical example of the baby oil. No, baby oil in this way, it's very good, but the most important aspect you have to be it has to be, you have to keep in mind this product, no, especially the sunflower oil, almond oil, all these things, no, have unsaturated fatty acids. They are triglycerides of unsaturated fatty acids like oleic, linoleic, right? So what happens? Presence of unsaturated fatty acids, they can become rancid and start smelling after some time. So inclusion of tocopherol at a high level is very, very important. Not vitamin E acetate. Vitamin E acetate, no. It has to be vitamin E, that is alpha tocopherol. That is a potent antioxidant, highly suitable for a combination of vegetable oils. It has to be used at an effective level, and you have to do sufficient stability to see that the product is not becoming rancid over the shelf life period, right? The amount of tocopherol should be in such a way that it doesn't become rancid over a period of time. So since it's specifically for babies, you should avoid antioxidants like butylated hydroxytoluene and butylated hydroxyanisole. They are much more potent antioxidants, but better to avoid those antioxidants. And when specifically use vegetable oils for your baby oil, combination of vegetable oils, you have to protect it from rancidity. So you have to use appreciable amount of tocopherol as an antioxidant, right? This is what I want to share with you on baby care and approach to baby care products. So, selection of raw materials, the final product stability, and the safety of the final product has to be completely studied before you develop any baby care products, right? It has to be you have to be 100% sure on these aspects before the baby care products formulated is marketed. That is what I want to share with you today. Thank you for listening to me in this video. Till we connect in the next video, be happy, be safe, be smiling, be blessed. Bye.